In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro ratified that he will sign a decree to promote a constitutional reform after the being sworn in January the 10th. A ferocious wildfire in the suburbs in Los Angeles devoured buildings and sparked a panic evacuation Tuesday as hurricane-force winds tore through the region. And investigations continue in Cuba after the explosion of a munitions warehouse in the municipio Rafael Freire in the province of Holguín. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll be with the news. Stay with us. In Venezuela, the presidency of the National Assembly met with President Nicolás Maduro to notify the executive branch of the start of the 2025-2026 legislative period. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, said that the democratic challenge of 2025 will be greater than those of the previous year and that it will be an important year in the country's democratic history. The president of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, also announced efforts to speed up the process of restoring the National Assembly with community laws that will allow for a prosperous future for the countries. President Maduro ratified that he will sign a decree to promote a constitutional reform after being sworn in on January the 10th.
Today, the situation is different. But their craziness, their hate, have turned into fascism. In 2016, we didn't speak about fascism. I said it then. Deputies of the opposition, many of you were part of that coalition bloc that was victorious. Today, you continue to be part of an important opposition coalition here in Venezuela, and I respect the differences that exists between us, between our political parties. Opinion is welcome. In democracy, all is possible.
The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, described 2025 as a year of Venezuelans post great democratic challenges as the country will be holding non-elections to build up the nation's future.
This National Assembly fulfills its 5th anniversary this year. And we pose big democratic challenges this year. Perhaps we'll be witnessing the most important democratic outburst ever in the history of our republic. Because this year, we will be holding 9 elections in Venezuela. So we live in a country that intends to build up its own destiny by exercising its freedom and sovereignty. The Constitution stipulates sovereignty lies in the people. Thus the people will demonstrate this year 2025 that sovereignty lies in the people who exercises it permanently.
The Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro condemned the political and popular moral power that the Bolivarian revolution has.
Habría que recordar cómo Venezuela lamentablemente inició un ciclo.
We should remember how Venezuela unfortunately began a cycle of pain, of sacrifices that we call of iron resistance to all forms of cooperation. How they dedicated themselves year after year to promise the overthrow of the government as if the Venezuelan voters had elected them to overthrow the legitimate government, in order to replace the legitimate government with unconstitutional lives. Always making the mistake of overestimating their strength, of misusing their strength, of offering lies, of not fulfilling what they had offered. And the worst mistake, Of underestimating us, of underestimating the immense political and popular moral power that the Bolivarian Revolution has had and will have in this 21st century. A fundamental force to talk about politics and the history of Venezuela in this century.
On January the 7th, work and school life began in Venezuela after the December holidays. Our team made a tour on the educational centers and the businesses districts of Petare. Let's see this tour with our special envoy, Daisy Tuzon.
La escuela Rómulo Gallegos, ubicada en
The Rómulo Gallegos school, located in one of the most popular areas of Petare, opened its doors to welcome students for classes after their Christmas holiday. Teachers agree that the first days are usually less attended.
It is always usual or normal for students to join the school gradually. The same happens when they come back from the July-August holidays for the whole holiday period, and it takes them about a week longer to join the school in September. In January, it has always been the same, especially when it starts during the week.
In other schools
in the area, we verified their gradual return to school. We continue our tour in Petare, one of Venezuela's most iconic neighborhoods. It is a residential and commercial epicenter of Caracas, and its streets are always bustling with commerce, and passerbys are a valuable indicator of the country's activity.
In recent weeks,
social networks have shown a distorted reality of the moment the country is going through, while the reality on the streets is different.
As
a Venezuelan, I tell you that this is pressure, more pressure for this population, but no. We are very convinced that if nothing has happened so far, the 10th will be even less. And let the pressure go and let him work so that they can see how a country grows.
This year, the authorities are expecting a large influx of travelers to the interior of the country.
It is flowing and that we are all calm. People are making a fuss and saying things, but no, I see that everything is calm. They're going around saying they're closed, but I don't know where. In La Guaira, Higuerot, all is normal. I went to the beach and everything's open, everything's normal.
It comes a few days before the swearing in of President Nicolás Maduro.
Let's take a very short break, but remember you can join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. A ferocious wildfire in the suburbs of Los Angeles devoured buildings and sparked panic evacuations on Tuesday as hurricane-force winds throughout the region. Fighters residents abandoned their cars on one of the only roads in and out of the upscale Pacific Palisades area, fleeing on foot from almost 1,200 hectares blaze, engulfing an area packed with multi-million-dollar houses in the Santa Monica Mountains. Firefighters used bulldozers to push dozens of vehicles, including expensive models such as BMWs, Teslas, and Mercedes, to one side, leaving many crumbles and with their alarm burning. Los Angeles Fire Department Chief Christine Crowley said that despite the chaotic evacuation, there were no immediate reports of deaths or injuries. Investigations continue in Cuba after the explosion of ammunition warehouse in Municipio Rafael Freire in the province of Holguín. During the early morning of Tuesday, a fire was reported in a warehouse in the community of Melones, where at least 13 soldiers are missing due to the accident. The armed forces and the government maintained their full attention in the area to be carried out search and rescue work. So far, an official report on the cause of the fire and the evolutions of the damage to the patrimony are still awaiting. The president of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, through the social network X stated, "We deeply regret the fire that occurred in a warehouse of Wildfire in Melones in the Holguín municipality of Rafael Freire. We stand in solidarity with and accompany the families of the 13 missing people. Full attention is being paid to what happened. The causes are being investigated." Cuba commemorates on January the 8th the 66th anniversary of the arrival in the capital of the Caravan of Freedom of the rebel army led by Fidel Castro after the revolutionary victory on January the 1st, 1959. Leaders entry into Havana will be evoked on Wednesday morning at points in the capital, where the convoy arrived on that date after more than 1,000 kilometers of journey in contact with the people from the eastern city of Santiago de Cuba. The reenactment of the historic event will begin in factory complexes in Cotorro municipality. Then a floral offering will be placed before the Gantma yards at the Museum of the Revolution in Whole Havana. In the afternoon, the caravans will pass along 23rd Street in the Havana neighborhood of Vedado until they arrive at the Ciudad Escolar Libertad, a scientific pedagogical complex located in the municipality of Marinao, where the central national ceremony for the anniversary will take place. The United Nations organizations warned that in the last year, more than 5,600 Haitians have been killed as a result of the crisis of violence that the Caribbean island is experiencing. The international organization warned that victims continue in spite of the presence of the international missing support by the UN and led by Kenya in the country. For its part, the Human Rights Office denounced that the homicide rate increased by 20% due to the violence of the gangs that controls 85% of Port-au-Prince, the capital. In this regard, the UN office warned that there have been 315 lynchings and 280 people have been murdered in the last years. This country faces a crisis of gun violence, which increased since 2021 when President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated. In Brazil, the Air Force said on Monday it had extracted data from two black box record of the crash Venezuelan airline plane. The Brazilian main and bird 190 crash lands in Kazakhstan after being diverted from a schedule landing in the Chechen capital of Grozny in the southern Russia, killing 38 of the 67 people on board. Azerbaijan has stated the plane was shot down by Russian air defense, which Moscow says were operating in the area at the time. Russian President Vladimir Putin has apologized for the incident in his country's airspace, but has no response to claim that the plane was hit by Russian weapons. In Brazil, the company in charge of Sao Paulo's electricity service, Enel, reported on Tuesday that about 150,000 homes are still without electricity after heavy rains. By early afternoon, 650,000 users were without power, although Enel reported 500,000 homes with the homes electricity was restored in the first 30 minutes. In the capital, heavy rains accompanied by winds and hail were reported promptly in the mayor's office with an emergency management center to declare a state of alert for flooding in the southern, southeastern, and eastern zones. Moving on. In Uruguay, the small town of Garzón, located 170 kilometers from Montevideo, is undergoing a unique transformation that was captivating international artists, tourists, and collectors. Now, in its 8th edition, the Campo Festival has been responsible for putting Garzón on the global art radar. Created by U.S. photographer Heidi Linder, the event brought together more than 20 international artists, and one of the highlights of the festival was the sound installation by artist Lucas Nguyen, who replaced the traditional benches of the local chapel with a series of sound boxes and rubber hammers. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back. In Palestine, at least 49 people were killed in a new attack by the Israeli occupation army in the devastated Gaza Strip. The Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, the main hospital in the south of the Strip, received 20 bodies in the last hours, 10 of them children and 5 women. 7 people, including 5 minors, were killed in the shelling of a house in Kisam Rashav neighborhood, where several families were sheltering. After 460 days of the Zionist regime's genocidal campaign, the number of people killed has reached 35,885 and more than 109,000 wounded.
Suddenly, without prior warning, I heard the sound of the missile. I told myself, may God protect us. Then, the missile fell on our neighbor's house. I didn't know what happened after that. I checked on my wife and children and felt that I had been injured and bleeding from the head. I took my children and went out to a safe place. Until now, there are people under the rubble.
In this context, health authorities in Gaza said a wave of Israeli strikes hit the territory southern district of Khan Yunis on Tuesday evening, killing 1,000 people, 7 of them children. At least 5 strikes target parts of Khan Yunis, including one in Al-Mawasi area, where thousands of displaced Palestinians are living in tents along the coast.
Hospitals are being bombed, where is the safe? Unawwa schools are being bombed, where is safe? Even if we went to the safe areas they would bomb us, there is nothing left. Have mercy on us. What is happening? Where are the Arab countries?
What is the fault of this child or this woman? These people are civilians and have nothing to do with anything. We are sleeping in our tents and have nothing to do with anything.
In other topics, the Japanese Meteorological Agency warned of heavy snowfall affecting the sea coast of Honshu. Authorities report that the northeastern and central areas will be covered with snow as heavy rainfall is expected for the next few hours. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Transportation and Tourism detailed the highways or the main roads could be closed as a precaution. The authorities recommend residents to avoid non-essential exits. Meanwhile, in South Korea, a cold wave alert will be in effect as on Wednesday, with the minimum temperatures falling to minimum 10 degrees centigrade. The Seoul government and 24 other districts reported that they will operate a 24-hour situation room to minimize damage, as well as monitor and respond to damage reports. Authorities will contact vulnerable citizens to ensure that their welfare, while simultaneously provide homeless people with heaters and other items for their safety. Saudi Arabia's National Meteorological Center activated a red alert due to a torrential downpour, thunderstorms, and strong wind gusts in several cities in the west of the country. Meteorological authorities issued a measure in the holy cities of Mecca and Medina in the west of the country, as well as in the eastern region due to the torrential rains and floods that sweep away streets and neighborhoods in the kingdom. Meanwhile, the Red Crescent and Civil Protection is preparing for rescue operations for those who would require it. In this regard, they urge the inhabitants to remain alert and stay away from valleys, low areas, and areas where the rainwater that may accumulate. We have come to the end of this news brief, but we'll leave you with the winners of the reality show Factor, the winners of the Sun of the campaign of President Nicolas Maduro. Also remember that you can find all the stories and information on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.
Venezuela, nos fuimos arriba. Esta es mi patria querida. 2, 1, brinca. Revolución con Nicolás. Revolución con Nicolás. El pueblo unido está en la lucha. Con Nicolás hacemos historia. El pueblo unido está en la lucha. Vamos para adelante con Nicolás. El pueblo unido está en la lucha. Con Nicolás hacemos historia. El pueblo unido está en la lucha. Vamos para adelante con Nicolás. Pa'lante Nicolás.
Yo juro con Maduro, presidente de la paz.
Pa'lante Nicolás.
Por el pueblo, por la vida, un sentimiento nacional.
El pueblo en la calle dice presente. Escuchen, presidente, somos su gente. Estamos en la batalla con